wanted to do something that was important.
Jonas Edward Salk was born on October 28, 1914, to a small Polish family in New York City. Salk was a very intelligent child and attended college at the age of 15. His interest in helping people drove him to pursue a law degree, but after taking a chemistry course at New York University, he found his true calling in medicine.
He was smitten by the clarity and the logic, so just the rational way of proceeding.
This love for medicine led Salk to meet Dr. Thomas Francis, who became very influential throughout Salk's career. Francis worked at the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, in an effort to create a vaccine for influenza. Salk and Francis worked together in the Army during World War II to avoid deployment. This is when Salk first came up with the idea to use a killed virus in a vaccine. The vaccine was successful and saved many lives in the Army. Due to this achievement, Salk was offered a job as a virologist at the University of Pittsburgh.
The opportunity to do the polio typing research came along. He didn't want to pass it up.
While Salk was working there, the polio epidemic reached unprecedented levels. Poliomyelitis, commonly known as polio, is a highly contagious infectious disease that causes flu-like symptoms as well as paralysis in severe cases. This terrifying disease has haunted mankind since the beginning of time. It is spread through contaminated food and water or direct contact with an infected person. Polio attacks the motor neurons. These cells cannot regenerate like other cells, leaving permanent damage to the nerves. Fortunately, many people who contract polio are spared from paralysis, but the few that are not so lucky face a devastating life change. There are different forms of paralysis depending on how the virus spreads: spinal, bulbar, and bulbar spinal. Any and all of these forms can cause the brain to become unable to communicate with the lungs, which causes a person to stop breathing on their own. When this happens, that person is forced to use an iron lung, a device that breathes for a person when they are unable to. As polio swept across the nation, America was desperate for hope. Jonas Salk became that symbol of hope when the March of Dimes approached him, offering him a job to create a vaccine against poliomyelitis. The March of Dimes was an organization founded to raise awareness and funds for polio research. While working on the vaccine, Salk used techniques he learned from his research on the flu and applied it to polio. One of these techniques included inactivation. Inactivation is creating a killed form of the virus instead of a live, harmful virus. The dead virus would cause the body's immune system to create antibodies which would fight the infection, whereas a live virus would also generate an immune response but poses the risk of becoming harmful.
He grew his virus up, not in eggs, but in monkey kidney cells. And then he purified it and he killed it with formaldehyde.
Jonas Salk's inactivated polio vaccine protects against all 3 strains of the polio virus. During the testing phase, Salk injected his own family with the vaccine to prove that it was safe before testing it on thousands of children. One group of children, known as the polio pioneers, received the vaccine during the field trials. Although Salk was confident in his creation, many others were skeptical of the vaccine and awaited the results of the trial. The government even went as far as to prepare coffins in case the vaccine failed. Despite the many questions, Salk was convinced that his vaccine worked, and he was right. On April 12, 1955, Thomas Francis and Jonas Salk announced the release of the first polio vaccine that was safe, effective, and potent. Francis also included that the vaccine was 80 to 90% effective because no vaccine is truly 100% effective. Salk disapproved of this claim and vowed that it was 100%. After their announcement, when they got backstage, Dr. Francis became very upset with Dr. Salk. Despite Salk's remarks, the vaccine did prove to be highly effective. Parents all over the world breathed a sigh of relief knowing that the threat of such a deadly disease was diminished. An age of fear and paranoia had come to an end until one instance, known as the Cutter incident, in which many children inoculated with Salk's vaccine contracted polio. In one moment, the despair Salk had worked so hard to extinguish came rushing back. After a thorough investigation, it was discovered that the Cutter laboratories allowed a live virus to be distributed as the correct vaccine. The batches, which passed safety tests, were found to still contain live virus. This caused many to question Salk and his vaccine, and infuriated the people who worked so hard to create it.
Each lot of vaccine was a goddamn research project.
The Cutter incident caused morale to decline, but after finding the cause of the polio outbreak, faith in the vaccine was restored. In only 6 years, polio cases had decreased by 95%. Despite his achievements, Salk did not stop there. He never forgot his motive behind becoming a doctor, to help people. As a scientist, Salk was an innovator. This led him to create the Salk Institute of Biological Studies, a place where research could be conducted on all diseases that affect people all over the world. The Salk Institute continues its research today and has made many breakthroughs in the medical world. Because of Dr. Salk's work, other physicians and scientists began working on other vaccines to combat other illnesses of concern.
I'm just so relieved and thankful that, hopefully no one else would ever have polio.
Salk chose not to patent his work, asking, "Could you patent the sun?" This decision allowed for easier production and distribution of the vaccine, and is cheaper, allowing it to be more widely available around the world.
I wish, there were 20 more of those kind of people.
After his years of work on polio, Salk took on many other projects in his later career, the most well-documented being his research regarding acquired immune deficiency syndrome, or AIDS. He never retired, determined to make the world a better place by eliminating diseases, one at a time.
If we didn't have that vaccine, the cost would be astronomical.
Jonas Salk touched many lives and has changed the fate of many others. He died in 1995, but his legacy is not forgotten. Poliomyelitis is nearly eradicated in most countries of the world. In the United States, most children are vaccinated as infants and have lifelong immunity against a disease that took so many lives and changed many others. Millions of children around the world have been spared from this horrible disease, thanks to the work of Dr. Salk and the countless others that contributed to the creation of the polio vaccine.
His work definitely influenced modern medicine and provided a basis for vaccination to other life-threatening illnesses.
Walking through life with an innovative outlook and a deep desire to help mankind, Jonas Salk wanted to change the world, and that's exactly what he did.